Hello and welcome to a tutorial series about Paltalk programming. During these tutorial series we're going to teach you how to send and get text from Paltalk so you can make your programs. Hopefully we have Autopilot coming in at some point, and we're going to hook up to him via TeamViewer and he can show you a little bit of .NET stuff dealing with Paltalk. Today we're going to do in Delphi, but they're all the same APIs that you'd be using in .NET or C++, so it shouldn't be a problem to convert what we're going to make today. And what we're going to make today is a HandleSpy, like Spy++ from Microsoft. You put your cursor over a window or a control and it will return the handle. So let's start up Delphi and build this thing. It's a pretty simple application. It shouldn't be too much code. Hopefully we get through it pretty quickly. So I'm going to make a new application. The first thing we want to do is have like a pointer. So when we click the pointer, drag it and drop it onto something. For that I've already downloaded an icon here on the desktop, and I got that from icon search just using Google. And to hold that icon we're going to need a T-image on our form, and I'm going to go down to the properties here and change the picture to an icon. So we're going to load, grab that little icon there. It has to be an icon format because the cursor is an icon. It cannot be a PNG or a JPEG or anything like that. It's got to be an icon. So to get this image here, or this icon, to our white little cursor here, we're going to have to use setCursor API, and you can do this in .NET. Like I said before, all the API calls we use you can use in your own language. We're going to do a mouse event first on mouse down, and we're going to set some condition that the left mouse button must be down. So if button equals mouse button left, then then we can set the cursor, and it requires a H icon type, which is a handle to icon. Because let's rename this while we're here. Let's call this where are we? The picker. iPicker, icon, or image picker, or whatever you want to call it, and we need the handle to it. So iPicker, and it's a picture, and it's icon, and the handle. As you can see, it returns of type H icon. And that's it. One line of code, basically. Let's see if it works. Tutorial 1. Just save this out. We're going to call this handle picker. So we have that image here. When we put on this iPicker here on the mouse down event, and if it's a left mouse button click, it sets the cursor to this image icon. We can move that around anywhere we want as long as we have the left mouse button down. It's like a drag and drop. So we're dragging it and we drop it and changes back. So what we need to do now is get the handle to the control, like this window here. If we let it go there, nothing happens because we haven't set any code for it yet. But let's do that now. So the event will be on mouse up. To do this we're going to have to set some variables. One to hold our handle. can be HWND, or in Delphi you can just put handle, but we'll use HWND. We need a container or a type to hold the XY coordinates, so of our screen, X and Y coordinates. This will determine where that pointer is at the time. So we can call this chords, and it's of T point, and what that T point does is just holds X and Y basically. So the first API we're going to use is get cursor position, and it requires a variable of a T point, which is our PT chords. Now this function here, it will set the XY wherever our mouse is at the time when we mouse up event. We'll set the XY coordinates in this PT chords. Now what we've got to do is get the handle from those coordinates, X and Y. So we can go handle, this is our variable, window from point, and we put in our chords that we have at the time. Just to show you, window from point, any APIs you're looking for or you're not fully understanding what they are, go to the Microsoft Developer Network. They have it all. And it doesn't matter what language, like I said, if you are using .NET you might have to declare them, and then if you're going to do that, p invoke, I think it was called, yeah, if you go here, p invoke for all you developers, window from point, let's see if we can find it, here we go. They even have examples here. This is how you declare it, this is the functions you declare, the APIs you declare. So whatever you find here on the Microsoft Developers Network, I'm pretty sure it will be here in pinvoke.net. Has everything for .NET developers. Anyway, let's get back to window from point. So it takes in a point, which is our XY, and it returns handle. Pretty simple. So we put that in, that's our handle, and I guess we want to put it in some sort of edit box. I'll put it in a T-label edit. We'll just change the properties of the name here. Label handle, and just change the captions of it to handle. So what have we done so far? We've gotten the cursor position while our mouse is down. Once we let it up, it will call this event and it will get the cursor from position and put it in our PT chords, and then we'll call windows from point with our PT chords to return a handle. Now that we've got the handle, let's go and put it in this little text box. Not text, oh, shit, text equals handle. Problem here is that it is not a string type, so we can do this two ways. We can go integer to string, which will turn any integer value to a string, or we can go, that's one way of doing it, or we can go format and to hex and to an integer, which is a decimal, and the values that we'll be doing is HWND, and I've got the small h there, So we're going to return it as a hex value and a decimal value or integer value. So let's try that. This is just a divider for them. So hex, integer, which is a decimal. So we're moving it around. We're over the control here. We let go of the mouse. And there's a hex value, there's our decimal value. Couple lines of code and it's that easy. Next, let's add some more information about the handle. So now we've got the handle, we can get other stuff. We can get the class name, for example. But we need to set a string for the class name. A container. Everything's a container. Well, it's not really, it's a type. But I call them containers, and they're specific containers that can only have one type of thing in it. And this one's a string. We can use get class name. Takes in the handle. Takes in a pointer to a string, so pchar. We're typecasting this string now. You probably won't have to do this in VB or .NET. And the size. But before we do that, because it is unmanaged code, I'm going to have to set the length of this string first. You probably won't have to do this either in .NET. So class string, I'm going to set it to 255, and then once we do that, obviously want to view what the class name is, so let's add another label edit. Let's change this to class name. Let's change the name of it to class name, and let's pop it in there. Typecast that again. Might not have to, but I will. There we go. Let's try it. See if it works. So we grab our mouse down, it changes the cursor to our image. While the mouse is down, we move it around, we drop it on a window or a control of the window, a sibling of the window you could say, and it will return the handle in hex, the handle in integer, and the class name. Cool. The next one we're going to do, let's add one more. Is called Dialog Control ID, and the reason we're going to use this is Chike put a very good example on how to use the Dialog Control ID to get the handle by looping through or enumerating through all the top level windows and then all the child windows and controls, and if the ID equals whatever ID we find, then get the handle for it. So let's do that. Let's make another label edit to hold the Dialog Control ID. So we're just going to name this label DLG Control ID, and just change the captions there so we know what it is. And once again, we'll come in here and go label DLG Control ID dot text equals what is it? Get Dialog Control ID. Text in the handle. We have that from when we first got it from our window from point. Problem is, this once again returns an integer. We can format it like we did up here, but we'll just use integer to string function instead. So let's try that. So we click our little target, move it around, drop it on something. You'll notice here that the Dialog Control ID is identical to the handle, and it will be with Delphi applications because they just don't work like C++ applications. Let's load up Paltalk. And I'll show you where this can be useful. There's Pac-Man. Bet he's checking out some titties. So we drop it over here onto our text window, our receiving text window, and you'll find that there's the handle, there's the class name, and there's the Dialog Control ID. Now, if you think about looping through all these controls and windows and that, and you come up with the class name, you could probably get the handle from that, but the problem is you also have this same rich edit 20W here where you want to send your text. So they are the same classes, same type of class, I should say. But if you notice, the Dialog Control ID are different. There's even one for here too, which is good. But yeah, as I'm saying, they're different. So you know, the condition could be if Dialog Control ID equals 203, then it's the where you want to send your text. Else, if the Dialog Control ID is 202, then that's where we want to receive the text and grab the text from this control. Let's add, what's the time? How are we going for time? Could probably add one more thing, I guess. We could probably add the title. The title would be useful. For example, we could get the title of this window here, which is Dialog Chat Window Class, and we could get the title that says Pack there, which could become useful. So once again, just cut that off so we know where we're up to. Let's make, I don't know, title we'll call it. Set that as a string. So now that we have that, we can use some other APIs, and one of the APIs we can use is get window title, window caption I think it's called. Let's have a look here. Let's have nothing. Probably not called that. Get window text maybe. String builder blah blah blah. Yeah, that would be it. Get window text. Once again, because this is unmanaged code, I'm going to have to set the length of the title 255. I mean, this could be any length you wanted. I just set it for 255 because there's 256 characters in the ANSI thingy-majiggy. Shit, what was I saying? Get window title, wasn't it? No, get window text. So it needs a handle. It needs a pointer to the string. Title. Ooh, and it needs maximum length, and then we better set another label edit. Call this title, rename it title, then we can use it here. Title dot text equals pchar s title. Save that. So now when we drop it over to the main window, you'll see the name Pat comes up, or over to the Paltalk Messenger window, you see the title Paltalk Messenger. Let's go into a room and see if it works there.
Oh, so you're saying now...
So we're in the land of insults.
So you're saying now, right?
We drop it over
it
there.
Was that white stuff. Yeah,
and
it's called
the land
semen,
of
it's called
insults.
spunk. That's...
And they're dribbling shit in there. See the ID there too? ID there. Oh, that's one thing I wanted to show you. You know how we talked about the Dialog Control ID?
No, dude, you don't know what you're talking about, because the California Redneck, a.k.a. Gator the Great One...
Let me turn this shit off.
You're talking about Roach, right? Ruben...
Take you in another room. It's not so noisy. Okay. So, when we dropped it here onto the receiving text in a PM, the Dialog Control ID was 202. And when we send text in the PM, the Dialog Control is 203. Now here's the cool thing, and it's going to be useful later on, is when we check the room is 202 for receiving text, the Dialog Control ID, and when we're sending text is 203 when we're in the rooms here. So this is a pretty convenient way, and according to Chike it works on all Paltalk builds so far that he's tested, to get the handle. And just to show you that it does get the title there, you can see there. Obviously there's no Dialog Control ID because it's a window, not a control. I think that's about it for today. I'll leave it at that. Hopefully we have Autopilot with us next time. We'll do some .NET programming and he can show you a few things. Let's just go over here once again. So on our mouse down we've set the cursor to the icon handle that we have on our form. On the mouse up we get the cursor position, our XY coords, and we put it into our variable or our container. We then call window from point with our XY coords to return the handle. So once we got the handle, we can format it into a hex value or an integer value, decimal, and then that will give you the handle. And then next part we want to get the class name, so you probably won't do any of this like I said in .NET because this is unmanaged code and .NET's managed, so you should be right there. Matter of fact, let's have a quick look at that, how you would do that in .NET. Get class name. Not much about it, is there? Here we go. Return value, name capacity, call, get class name. Well, sometimes they have examples here, but obviously not for this one. Anyway, so we get the class name. This function here will put a pointer to our string. This is a pointer to our string in memory where it will fill it with the characters. Here we've set it for 255 characters, and then we just put it into our class name text. This one here we've just called get Dialog Control ID with the handle, which we got up here, and it returns an integer value, so we had to convert the integer to a string, and then we've put that into our Dialog Control ID text. And the final one, we've used get window text. And that's it for today. Catch you later.